Good morning, family. Welcome to Migori County in Western Kenya. Today, we are not filming from Karating as usual. We've driven almost 3 hours to the other side of the lake. And in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you all about this incredible home later in the video. But anyway, Kenya will shock you if you have been gone for a long time. This is what everybody who returns to Kenya for the first time is often told right before they hop onto that flight towards JKA. And in truth, being away from home for a long time often means we are physically detached but mentally stuck at home. Now, what this really means is that uh, our most recent memories are often about home, and typically we remember things as they were when we left JKIA. And those are the memories that stick with us even if we live in diaspora for a long time. Now, most of us often think about the connections we had, the friends, the roads, the neighborhoods, the homes, and all that. And those exact same memories stick with us even if we stay for as long as 50 years. I have friends who have lived in the US for like 30, 40, 50 years. And whenever they talk, they always remember things as they were when they left. And so for this group of folks who returned after decades, coming back to Kenya for the first time sometimes feels like being released from prison, actually on parole. It's actually interesting that sometimes on some immigration paperwork, they actually call these things parole. I believe if you're on a work permit or if you're on temporary visa status, they give you something that they call parole, a term that I typically associate with prisoners. And so people who have been gone for decades often have an experience like you can't compare with anything else. And some of you have seen videos of prisoners being released, especially in America. Folks who are incarcerated probably in the 70s or in the 60s, before cell phones were there, before automatic cars, flat screen TVs, reliable internet, and then they're often dropped into the 21st century. And you just look at them so mind blown to the point where it almost feels like they're experiencing intense sensory overload. And they're trying to process everything, they want to test everything, and even some of the most mundane things seem luxurious. So in this video, I'm simply going to remind you about some of these things that were very normal when we left. And then when you come back home, they absolutely feel like luxury. Or things that over time, we've lost so much touch that when you experience them, you're like, wow, I cannot believe that this is still the case and we still get that for free. So before we do that, as I mentioned earlier, today I want to show you my cousin's home with her husband. And as you can tell, they are doing an unbelievable work here right by the shores of Lake Lolwe in Migori County. And their hacienda, just in fact, you'll see when I climb up the roof, you can see the lake straight from their hacienda. And so these two young folks have really done so well for themselves in such a short time. Some of the most hardworking folks I know. And they're definitely also in the process of returning. And part of that journey includes building some really nice haciendas right in the village. In fact, when you drive around, you will see, I didn't see any single thing that looked like what you're looking at here. And so today we just drove 3 hours from Kisumu to come just chill, enjoy, and spend quality time with them in their multi-million shilling mansion by the lake. So if you look keenly, and you'll notice this as we walk around the house, both outside and indoors, the features of the home, whether you're talking about the overall design, the layout, its size, the landscaping, the finishes, are just spectacular. I have seen quite a few homes built by returnees, but this is really one of my favorite homes that I've been to in the last couple of months. So in this video, I'll let you savor it because I'll be walking around both inside and out, just letting you see it. And I'd be excited to see your opinions on that. And if you really want to see the juiciest parts of the home, you have to check my cousin's channel. She goes by the name Nyadiemo. I'll post her channel in a second or so, and down in the comment section, you have to check her out. I will definitely not give you a full home tour. That is for her channel. So if you want to see the juiciest part, go to her channel. Please support her, subscribe, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Because if the outside looks like what you're looking at, you can only imagine what the interiors look like. They've really gone all out. So please check her out, support her, and you will not be disappointed. So anyway, back to today's topic. Here are some of the things that many years ago were very normal, but now feel like luxury. Number one, new furniture made of real wood. Many folks who don't come from Kenya are often surprised to find lots of handmade furniture that is still built in Kenya in all kinds of places. Where we live in Long Beach, I mean, handmade furniture is rare, and if you find it, they're usually very overpriced. And so even in Kenya now, lots of the okay furniture that you'll find are mostly imported stuff or things that are made out of composite materials and not real wood. Now, real wood you'll find, yes, but often they're not the best quality. So when I find furniture built with real wood that is also exceptional quality, I just feel like that is my version of luxurious life. So the second one is owning software that you purchase. If you're old enough, you remember many years ago, if you needed, say, Microsoft, anything Microsoft, you'd simply buy a CD or a floppy disk. And I don't know how to describe that, because if you are watching me and you're a millennial, there's almost no way of describing that. If you don't know what that is, please Google it up. There's something called a CD and a floppy disk. There was a big one. There were two different sizes of floppy disk. So you'd use that, buy the software, install it in the massive computer, and you own it. That's it. But nowadays, almost every single thing you have to do subscription. Oh, yes. Now look at the background. That is what I was talking about. Right back there is Lake Lolwe, the largest lake, freshwater lake in Africa. So it also goes all the way to Kisumu, where we came from. So we're just on the other side of the lake. And just look at that view. And the breeze right here is almost indescribable. When you're standing here, just getting the breeze from the lake, it's just indescribable. And they get fresh wild tilapia every day. It's amazing. It's amazing. So please go check them out in their channel. You see what I'm talking about. Now, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the times now, if you need software, you're going to have to subscribe. And then number three, a long time ago, I remember people used to make friends just because we just enjoyed people's companionship. You just enjoyed being around other people and not necessarily networking. And I'm not saying networking is a bad thing. It just feels like nowadays a lot of our connections or friendship per se are very much transactional. And those friendships often fade away as soon as the transaction part is done, and they're no longer useful. So I don't know if it's me or it's a universal thing, but I remember the kinds of friendships that I had many years ago. Always just that we were just purely enjoying each other's company, and that was it. And then number four is many years ago, I remember when it came to things like rent, most folks would pay less than 30% of their income. And this actually reminds me of my experience moving from Richmond, Virginia to Long Beach, California. And in Richmond, I used to live in a 2-bedroom apartment, 2-bath with a wash and dryer, a microwave, a fridge, very spacious, and would only pay like about $500 a month. Then I moved to Orange County, California, to a single bedroom, very tight, no microwave, no fridge, 1 bathroom, and I was paying about like $1,800 in rent. So yes, that could be a function of time, but it could also be a function of moving from a place like Virginia into California. But rents have gone up. Even in Kenya, the rents have really gone up over the years. Now, I remember a long time ago, things like phone numbers, we didn't need to write them down. I had almost everyone in my circle's phone number in my head. Of course, not everybody had phones. I barely needed to check anything. At the moment, I think I probably have just maybe three phone numbers memorized in my head. Uh, I can barely remember a whole lot of that. And so my wife often thinks of me as a nerd because I remember all of my credit card numbers offhand. And so when she sees me purchasing stuff and I just punch in the numbers without looking at the cards, to her that is something really strange. And I remind her, many years ago I could keep over 100 phone numbers in my head and I didn't have to refer to that. So yeah, times have changed. And then, of course, one of the things that I also observed is that a long time ago, many people would easily lead a decent life on one income. Today, that is not possible for a lot of us, especially living in the Western world. And besides that, I remember as a kid living in Oyugis, it was very normal to go to your neighbor's house to borrow flour. If you ran out of flour, you simply go and borrow like a little bit of it, and then you make a meal. And then the next time you bring more flour, you return it to your neighbor. Although some people didn't care for returning, but that was very common. In today's world, I cannot imagine a scenario where a neighbor comes to borrow flour. That's almost unthinkable. And then I remember household products that would not break, things that would last forever. If you go to my mama's house now, she has lots of things from the 80s, 90s. You're talking about utensils, cupboards, vinyl, music, radios, things that were built a long time ago and are still very functional. And now I can't even tell you how many times I buy glasses in my house because they break like every other day, they're breaking left and right. So I remember the days when you'd buy stuff and they would really last. And of course, moving into America, I remember the days when legroom in an airplane was perfectly normal. And those of us who are tall, it was never a problem. You could pretty much sit in anywhere, quote unquote, economy, and it didn't feel tight. Now, currently, flying is not fun. This is actually one of the things I just survive because I have no choice. Part of it is the legroom. I never find comfort sitting in economy. But anyway, that also reminds me of many years ago when meals in domestic flights was just the norm. You didn't have to pay for luggage, and they would serve you any meal regardless of how long your flight was. But now, recently, almost all flights feels like what we call in my mother tongue, Siprit. There's a famous airline that, as a Luo, I would call Siprit Airlines. Very few, if any, no meals, very tight space, and you have to pay for every single thing, even carry on. And so that also reminds me of being able to just drink tap water. In the US, that is still possible in many places, but in Kenya, you do not want to do that. If you want high quality dip, again, which is a chemical reaction that occurs in humans on the posterior ends, you do not want to drink tap water. And then, of course, clothing and shoes that would last forever. In fact, I tell my wife, even now, I still have pants that I bought in college over 25 years ago that I'm still putting on to date. And so I remember all of these things and how times have changed. Of course, I remember the days when you could just have good time without worrying that somebody was filming you. Somebody like Wonodede filming and posting online. Well, those are the times. Well, I'll see you guys in the next. Thank you.